Walled Lake, and I'd like to take a moment to introduce our council members present this evening, either in person or online. All are in person. We have Councilmember Fernandez, Councilmember Lublin, Councilmember Ambrose, Councilmember Locke, Councilmember Osnick, Mayor Pro Tem Woods, and Mayor Ackley. And I would also like to introduce City Manager Witt. Thank you. I will now turn the meeting over to you, Madam Mayor, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to welcome everyone and ask that you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Pro Tem Woods will now say the invocation.
Dear God, we ask you to preside over this meeting tonight. Help us to act as a unified team to open our hearts and make fair and just decisions that improve our community. Also, may we come together as a whole with the courage and strength to show kindness and compassion as we collectively work towards the betterment of Walled Lake. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Ackley.
Here.
Ambrose.
Here.
Fernandez.
Here.
Locke.
Here.
Lublin.
Here.
Osnick.
Here.
And Woods.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have a quorum. At this time, I'll take any requests for agenda changes.
Madam Mayor, I have one. If we could add water backflow testing, probably under the city manager's report.
What is it you're?
Water backflow testing
Okay,
You want it under your
as a
report?
discussion.
that'll be fine. We can discuss the issue. I think I know what
Yep.
Mayor Pro Tem's talking about, so.
Thank you.
I hope you know what he's talking about. Anyone else? Okay. Audience participation, I will turn it back to the clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For audience participation, those that wish to speak on an item that is not pertaining to the agenda, we do ask that you approach the podium. You have 3 minutes to speak, and we do ask kindly for your name and address. For those that are participating online, virtual means, you do have the opportunity to also participate. You can press *9 on your telephone keypad, and that indicates the raised hand feature for you to be acknowledged. Do we have anybody online? We have no online and no in person, Madam Mayor.
Okay. That sounds great, too. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of the council meeting of August 20th, 2024.
Ambrose will make the motion to approve the minutes for meeting August 20th for 2024.
The motion, is there a second?
Woods will second.
Any comments, discussion, corrections? Roll call, please.
Ambrose.
Yes.
Fernandez.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Lublin.
Yes.
Osnick.
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Ackley.
Yes.
Thank you.
Council reports. Start with Mindy. Do you have anything?
The Parks and Rec Commission wrote on last week, and we discussed the Parks and Rec concerts, and they were very well received this year, and most of the bands want to come back next year, which is, I think, says a lot for us. We discussed getting more signage out on Pontiac Trail and Commerce Road to encourage people to come on in. And the marketplace, of course, is going great. We have more and more new people coming in. Every time I come by, the parking lot's full. So I really want to commend the staff and everybody involved in that because it's going great.
Great.
One of my special staff members is Loretta Witt. She's a volunteer, and she's worked with Ms. Jakeway since the beginning to replace or fill in while our police officer candidate is going through the academy. But it has improved a great deal. My volunteer, Miss Loretta Witt, she went to the market, the 1 year kind of thing they do in Wolverine Lake, and found a whole lot of our vendors over there. They do it one time a year. They recognize her and called her out. But the point is Wall Lake has become a destination for the vendors. That's not the case before. I think it has everything to do with the DDA's work in terms of developing that site and kind of making a multi-purpose site. We probably up to 30-plus tents. That's kind of the way to judge it. The way I judge it, every Wednesday, I come by in the morning, the parking lot is full. It doesn't matter how many tents are there. For me, it's about the people who are participating, not the vendors. If the parking lot is full, then you know the vendors have got somebody to deal with. It's continuously full. If you're paying attention to that parking lot, back when it was dirt road, there was not a lot of stuff going on, coming and going, but it's full. There's a lot of activity coming and going. I'm talking about people, the patrons, if you will, or the customers. And without those, the vendors don't survive, but they're coming back, and it really is a credit to what the DDA did with building that facility. Even as humble as it still is, it's bringing people in, and it has everything to do with the work of the DDA and this council. So I think it's growing even more. You know, we have experience with other marketplaces, and they're set up different. You got to walk a long way to do this, that, the other. We're not perfect. People always complaining. They think that we should be doing certain things that we don't. We provide a place, but it is a destination now for the vendors. So come down. If you're not buying your vegetables there, you should be. You've got several more weeks to do that.
October 1st, I think.
Yep,
is
No, it's later
through
than that.
October. Through October. And we're going to do one more event with, which like has a harvest theme. So look for that. It's going to be fun.
What was the
Awesome.
last day?
End of October, right? 30. Yeah.
October 30th.
There's a few more weeks. Say hello to Loretta if you're there, if you haven't already. Proud of her.
I think that's it.
Thank you. Bennett?
Library did not meet. We do meet this Friday, and, you know, the millage, again, thank you for all supporting the millage, and we will continue, and, you know, we're doing our thing at the library. So all is going well, the team is working well together, and kids are back in school, so the show goes on.
Thank you. Casey?
I attended both our September Planning Commission and our DDA meeting. Regarding our DDA, nothing to report on. Our city engineer, Boss Engineering, is working on our SAD, our Special Assessment District, and what's above, what's below. So nothing to report back there. And for regarding the Planning Commission, I will hold that off for John and his team to report on.
Thank you.
The planning commission had two issues. We reviewed the discussion about the gas station across from Copper Mug. The applicant has requested a full board. We did not have a full board. And as far as the other issue, the Watermark Terrace, we've scheduled a public hearing for that. So those are the two issues that we had, and that's the extent of it right now.
That's at the next meeting, right?
That'll be at the next meeting, correct.
That's what I thought I had written down, but I wanted to double check.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Tamara?
No, I have
Nothing?
nothing.
Nothing to
Mayor Pro Tem?
report.
Nothing to report.
I'll keep that in my council comments.
You just sitting there with bated breath waiting for the mayor, right? Okay, we got it on the agenda. The mayor's gonna call for some action here. And we do have a bad situation going on in Wall Lake with the garbage pickup. We discussed it, kind of lengthy at the last council meeting. Talking to staff, as far as the complaints go, it seems to be improving somewhat, but when you go into Saturday and possibly Monday, and you don't get the garbage off your driveway from the prior Wednesday morning, that's not sufficient. and I think it's gone on long enough in Wall Lake. I know I'm getting phone calls, I'm getting emails. So far, most people have been nasty. I mean, not nasty, they've been nice.
No,
I
nasty.
think the worst thing I was told was, there's an election coming up, but I've heard that for so many years, it just kind of rolls off my back here. Yeah, there's an election coming up. Do I have the answer? No. I think we really, it's boiled down to two choices. One, do we join our larger communities who have a much larger budget than we do, even though we do have a full-time city attorney? He has a lot of other important issues going on at the moment, and do we want to get into a court battle with a company such as Priority? I don't know what their pocketbooks are, but I think they go a little bit deep. Some of our neighboring communities have taken the option of no garbage pickup. You don't get your check. It seems to be maybe working a little bit and getting some attention. And I thought we'd throw this out for discussion tonight and also get the city's attorney's opinion on whether that is a possibility. If this continues, can we hold back the money and see what Priority does then?
Madam Mayor, let me, as you know, you and I are on different sides of this issue. We both want good service. The mayor is strongly in favor of legal action, and I'm strongly in favor of getting our garbage picked up. Sounds like the same thing, but it's not. We were a small community. I do not believe we're in a position to leverage with our legal counsel these companies who can walk away from a very small contract, and then we're without garbage pickup at all. My concern will happen when there is a public safety issue, meaning not picking up the garbage. They are picking up the garbage, they're just not meeting the requirements of the contract. Some of the other cities have done it differently, and I've been in contact with the other cities, the city managers, the supervisors, the other local governments. Commerce, as an example, held back payment. They leveraged their very large contract and large amounts of money to get Priority's leadership to come in, speak, and they seem to be getting some improvement. We are one of the smaller contracts. They can walk away. We do not need that yet. We need to give them time. That's my opinion. That's all it is. Another community called Sylvan Lake, the mayor and the city manager, I've never met him, I don't know him, I don't know the mayor. They chose to engage a commercial waste pickup company who had never done city pickup or community pickup. And if you've read the newspaper, you may know all this information. Apparently they let a contract of $1.5 million or close to it, in addition to the contract they've already got. I don't even want to know how that ends, but they contracted with a company called Rizzo Commercial Pickup and all the various entities. If you know what Rizzo is the brother of the other Rizzo who did 5 years for bribing community leaders in Macomb County. I don't believe we should be litigating in a way to get out of a contract when we have no place to go but Rizzo. I don't want to speak to who's running that company, but apparently the brother who got the 5 years loaned them money. So it's the same thing. It doesn't smell right that we should be jumping, or we should be giving them time. And the people who are not willing to give the time, the ones who write the nasty letters to me, you, and other people, if we wrote the same letters to them, imagine what they would call us if they were saying the same thing. If we were saying the same thing as public officials to them, they would call us trolls. They would call us all kinds of names. Inappropriate, but those are called trolls or keyboard cowboys. I think you've got to do what's logical. You got to talk with your city attorney and see what the process would be if you're abandoning the contract. If that even hits the table tonight, you're running the risk of not having garbage collection. They have been picking up our garbage. It's just always late. It's not very reliable in terms of timing, but I'm not aware of anything being more than a few days late. In my city, in my local government, I live 5 miles away as the crow flies, but it's in Commerce. My waste was not picked up for 5 days, but they finally picked it up. If we start suing or playing the same leverage game that the bigger communities can do, we don't have the same leverage. They can go, fine, we'll let that contract go. And we have no one to pick up the contract. So let's be cautious tonight in this discussion about whether we abandon priority or let them try to work it out. They clearly have failed in terms of rolling that out. The rollout was terrible, it was horrible, but it's not just here. It's in almost every community they're dealing with. If you read all the newspaper articles about every other community. So I'm simply cautioning you as manager. I don't support hammering them. I support working with them. And the day that I know or I believe that we can't work out a deal with them or make it work, then I will call an emergency meeting, or I'll get with the mayor. She can call the emergency meeting, and we will do that. We need to talk about it tonight. You each need to talk about it. If you believe you need to move forward with a lawsuit and get out of the contract, but where do we go? So be cautious, and you're talking to a guy who's actually picked up garbage in Wall Lake. I've actually thrown the garbage on the back of a truck and picked it up for the condos. And I'm willing to do that again, but let's be cautious about what we do. We are not Commerce. We are not the bigger communities. We don't have the same leverage. We have the same legal arguments, probably the same as all the other communities. And that's when you need to talk to your attorney now and see what, if we were going there, what would we do? Certainly it's some kind of a breach, but I think his expertise would be much better advised. But let's be cautious what we do with this tonight.
And I would say I would have to totally agree with you. As I said, I think we have 3 options. We either take the worst route, which would be a lawsuit. Second would be to hold out money. Or one would be try to continue to negotiate with them. I just can't fathom how anybody could buy a company as large as the one they did and not do their due diligence and check out exactly what they were buying, but obviously.
But that's exactly what they did. You may not be able to fathom it, but it is, from all indications, it has everything to do with the vehicles. And the reason we know that is because, as a matter of fact, if you've not eyeballed it, I have, they're renting garbage trucks to pick up garbage in our community. Now, why would you rent a garbage truck it's because the ones they inherited from the other companies were not fit for the road. And some wizard of management, some management graduate ordered up, let's check all those vehicles the moment we take over and don't put them on the road unless they're working, if there's a little bit of a leak. And once they checked them and said none of them are worth a nickel, they can't put them back on the road. So they got no trucks. So now that's one of the issues. Plus the employees didn't switch out so easily either. But it really has a lot to do with vehicles, and we know that because they're renting them. In my community, where I live, 5 miles from City Hall, I saw a Premier garbage truck going down the road. Premier. It was my child who Googled that and said it's a garbage rental company, garbage truck rental company. I never knew they had that. Thought I knew everything. They rent garbage trucks. So it said Premier on the side. It's not a garbage company, it's a garbage truck rental company. And they're renting them now, and they're doing that because the vehicles that they inherited from probably GFL were not fit for the road. And somebody in that company should have known that. They should have anticipated that. They should have been ready to do that. The rollout was not ready. I don't know if there's any penalty for the management who failed that test. Maybe that is the lawsuits that come from the other communities or whatever. But it has to do with their vehicles. I believe that has a lot to do with it. And secondly would probably be the employees. Not all of them came over from GFL, but they certainly weren't ready for the rollout. Not just here. We're talking both counties. I think Macomb County, I mean, who knows more about what other counties? It's got to be Wayne County, if they're down there. It's Oakland County, Macomb County, and wherever. So have the discussion about how to fix this, but let's be cautious about what the fix is.
I just think we owe it to our citizens to have the discussion and discuss possibilities of what we can do. I'm not asking for action tonight. I don't think it's the right way to go. I think things are improving. They seem to be communicating with staff. I don't know directly which people they're communicating, whether it's Dan, Jennifer, who it is. But let's keep them on their toes and let our residents know that we're trying to do the best we can with a situation that could be a total loss for Wall Lake if we make the wrong move. So, council?
I have a suggestion, and I don't know if this is possible. I have noticed, you know, we're all working, it's all of our properties. We get picked up on Thursday. So maybe, do they pick anyone up on Wednesday? Maybe we can talk to them and just so that people don't put their garbage out on Wednesday and it gets picked up on Thursday or Friday. Is there a day that Priority can give us that they can feel confident to pick us up? I don't think anybody really minds if they pick up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as long as we know when we put our garbage out the night before that we
Right.
get picked up.
So it's not sitting out all week.
Right, the animals are getting to it and it's, you know, are we getting picked up at all on Wednesday? Or some,
Once.
Bit off.
It was the day after the last city council meeting, was the only Wednesday we got.
well, I don't know,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
talking
there's
about
certain
the
areas
whole
where
community.
2 or 3
Because,
days
you know, we were working as a community.
It is improving, though. It is
Somebody
improving.
answering? Dan, are you answering, or all I'm hearing is council throwing out days?
I have seen some parts of the community picked up on Wednesdays, some picked up on Thursdays, and some picked up on Fridays in the same week. One might be trash, one might be recycling, and then there's yard waste. There's 3 components to it.
Right.
Sometimes they don't get each component on the same day. So when they say we didn't get picked up for, 3 days, maybe recycling got picked up, but trash didn't, kind of bounces around. But I have seen, trash picked up on Wednesdays, I've seen trash picked up on Fridays, and then on Wednesday, the recycling is picked up, and then it flip-flops. So it just depends on what trucks they have available to send to the community on that given day.
Sounds like it would be more confusing to give them a day. I mean,
Right.
if,
They may not be prepared to give us a day.
What's the exact feedback that you're getting from the waste company? What are they communicating to city staff?
So,
Chelsea, go.
Okay.
Handle it.
So I've been in discussions with Sam from Priority Waste. He has asked if we could consider a new day for the city of Walled Lake with the rotation that they're in now with the 72 communities that they took over as of July 1. There is no one they are currently servicing on Thursday, and they believe by moving Walled Lake, because they're in Wixom on Wednesday, the same day as they're supposed to be in Walled Lake, and they just feel that they can service us better on Thursday, as there's no other community that they're reaching out to. We are their delay day on Thursday, so they think pushing us back a day, they would be caught up in Wixom on Wednesday to service us fully on Thursday. That is the feedback that I've gotten from Sam from Priority, who is the route supervisor.
Route supervisor, what's Sam's
I'm
last
okay
name?
with that.
Carmango,
Sam is a former employee of GFL, right?
Yes, he is.
So he understands that. But the issue of what we tell them, we have a contract that says certain dates, so they were supposed to meet that. It doesn't appear they factored that in at all, and this is their leverage for like, we're gonna pick it up when we want. So they're essentially rewriting the contract specifics. Our goal here is to get our garbage and trash picked up. So there's no reason to believe that if we change that's going to happen any better. We could say, okay, because they said this, we could do that, but it still doesn't guarantee. My concern is not that, they're not picking up their garbage because they are, sooner or later, they're getting it. So we don't have a public safety issue. It's not in the streets like some communities in my lifetime where the street is laying in the streets for years. You know, like just, it's amazing. So they're just late. They're jury rigging everything any given day to try to make it work. So we could do that administratively. We could say, okay, make an adjustment. Any contract change, any times that are written in the contract, the city council would have to approve that. Doesn't mean we can't work with them and get it right and try to do that. What your problem as elected officials is that the people are unreasonable in the street. You know, they're unreasonable. They want, you know, I put my garbage out, pick it up right now. And the fact is oftentimes, you know, I'm not making excuses for priority, but oftentimes people put stuff out late. And if they get missed, then they come back and they want to blame the contractor or the city. And some of them, even though they have to know better, they know we contract that out. They know that's not a city-provided service, it's a contracted service. And they write really nasty stuff. They call up the ladies over there, all three of them have gotten really, really nasty emails, nasty comments. And I'm fuming sometimes for what they have to receive and listen to on the phone. It's just not right. That's not what they get paid to hear. But the trolls out there, and they're in our community leaders, you know, in whatever group they think they're in. And that's pretty nasty all by itself. So we need to fix that, but we can't fix those people who think we should come to their house and pick up their garbage because they put it out late. And we got those pretty regular. And you can almost identify who they are because they're here about all kinds of things. So we can work with them if the council will agree to that. We can have staff work with them and adjust the times. And then if we get a time that's working, come back here and say, okay, we changed the contract. But some of the stuff is in the contract, the specifics of it. But we cannot sit here and guarantee you that we can make Priority Waste do what makes the residents happy. You know, some of the residents don't think it ought to change at all. Well, you know, we ought to hold their feet to the fire and sue them, and we're going to throw you out, and, you know, they're going to throw me out. They're not going to, I got that one, you know, I love that one. I'm sitting on the beach literally on Sunday, and who brought it up, like, I know you know, I'm not voting for you this time because our garbage is not picked up. That's what they said to me. I said to him, well, you didn't vote to me last time because I don't need your vote, you know. I don't work. But that's what they said, you know, like on the beach, you know, I'm sitting over there.
Are they even in our community?
Yeah, I'm not going to vote for you this time because you didn't pick my garbage up on time.
They even vote.
But that's the kind of silly stuff you got. But those are people who will always be the same. You're not going to make them happy. So we can work with that. If you can roll it in, if I can keep the mayor from suing anybody tonight.
You might.
Well, that's.
I have a question. How many days do they pick up in Wixom?
So they are in South Lyon Monday and Tuesday. They are in Wixom Wednesday, along with Walled Lake.
So what made the major decision that let's switch Walled Lake to a day instead of switching Wixom's day?
I couldn't tell you, Mayor.
Well, we're smaller.
What?
Where's
No,
That's
wait
it,
a minute.
Mayor.
If they're picking up one day in one community and one day in another community, why did Wall Lake have to be? People are creatures of habit. With my lifestyle the way it is right now, there's 1 week a month I'm in another community and my garbage day is Tuesday. So when I'm in Wall Lake, I'm taking my garbage out Tuesday morning half of the time. Then now you're going to tell me it's going to be Thursday. The poor mayor's going to be really confused. But a lot of people are going to be like that. I mean, it has been Wednesday in Wall Lake forever.
But there will
I-
be a learning
I
curve.
don't have a problem with changing if it's going to work. But what I'm asking is, why does Wall Lake have to be the one to give in?
Councilmember Lublin answered your question. We're the smallest,
I don't,
or one of the smallest. If they walk away from this contract, there's a lot less than if they walk away from even Wixom now. They're doubling our size. It's the same thing with Commerce and all that. So if this becomes an issue where they can't do everybody, they'll walk away with some of the contracts, and then they'll take the beating in a lawsuit, whether it's a breach or whatever the damage would be. and they'll walk away, and then we're, so.
Then
we-
again,
we-
if it takes 1 day to pick up Wixom and it takes 3 days to pick up Wall Lake, that doesn't make any sense either.
The best I can tell you is I don't think we ought to be in the suing business tonight. Not tonight. We got to give it time. We got to give it time. My theory on this, I expressed to Ms. Pestis, who, as you all know, she's the treasurer of RSAC, so they oversee all of this, like countywide for us. And I didn't go to the meeting because I got her to go to the meetings, but it turns out a couple of the city managers went, and they had the smaller city managers, they had the same argument I had. Like, we don't need to be the ones leading this fight because they can walk away from us. And she came back on like, wow, you called that one because that was the same argument. I'm going like, well, no, let the other ones lead it because they can. If you've got, hundreds of thousands of dollars involved in commerce, let's say, they can withhold a check because they need that check to pay their bills. And so they can get them to come to the meetings. They get to them to do that. They can tell us, well, okay, fine. We're done. So we're going to work with them if you let us. I know that it's you guys are getting really nasty grams and probably phone calls and all of that.
Neighbors,
Yeah, absolutely.
everybody talking and saying, what's going on?
Well, again, maybe some of them are watching this meeting and hope they get something out of it other than, we're trying to get the garbage picked up. And
Have a
we've done that.
consistent day of pickup.
But I have a.
I don't know that we can get that anytime soon. That we don't.
They're saying they'd like to work on they'd like pickup day to be our Thursday because they don't have the other
Right.
communities. Maybe-
But that's my question. I work in Commerce, and I know Commerce's garbage day is Thursday, and it's a much larger community than Wixom. So why would Thursday be better than Wednesday?
So here, I have an idea. Maybe the trucks that they have like sectioned for South Lyon, Wixom, and Walled Lake are a little more available on Thursday, and they have different trucks in Commerce and West Bloomfield and, something like that.
We cannot guarantee, you
Right.
can't, as a city council or mayor, guarantee that what they tell us tomorrow is going to actually happen. It's the same as we have a contract. If they can't live up to the contract, why would they live up to a verbal commitment? They're going to try. They want to survive.
try.
They want to make it work. And what I think it's about time. It's like time is one of those wonderful things. Time heals everything. So we got to give it time. If there's no public safety issue, if they are picking it up sooner or later, it gets pretty nasty. I mean, I've seen it in Commerce where they literally 6 days, 6 days, that's a long time to have garbage. I'm not talking about trash, garbage. And by that time, it's pretty putrid.
Summertime.
It's
Oh, yeah, that's nasty.
Summertime.
So that's happened, but it's not gone into the weeks where it's laying in the street. We don't need to create that. We need to
No.
work with them. And I would hope the council can deal with the public who's not very reasonable. They somehow want to blame the mayor because the garbage is not picked up. Well, I guess, when you're the mayor, you get blamed for everything. And when you're a council, you get blamed for everything. And when you're the city manager, they don't vote for you anymore, so.
So what do you need from council?
I need the mayor not to
Patience.
call for a lawsuit. She and I,
no one has
we're
made a
arm wrestling over that. She wants to,
I got everybody's attention.
well, you did. You got mine.
Would it be smart, would it
and
be
you
smart for
should,
us to
and
have
you
Sam
should,
come to
I,
because
this
it's
meeting?
I need the
serious.
council not to give the mayor, and the mayor who might lead that, not to give the city attorney instructions to sue anybody until we've had a few set downs and all of that, and that may take a few weeks. But Ms. Pest and I will meet as soon as possible after tonight, and just, let's not do this. And if it can't be resolved and it gets silly, I'll call an emergency meeting, or I'll meet with the mayor and see if she wants to call us emergency. She can call one too. And we'll do it that way. But suing, what'd she say? Legal action? I think that she's right about calling for it, but I'm right about fighting against it right now. I think both of us are correct on this discussion. We don't always agree on things, but we agree on the objective, which is to get our garbage picked up. And so if you can reel that in for the night, I'll be happy. And so would Ms. Pesta.
And I'm okay with changing the day. I mean, it doesn't matter as
I'm
long
okay
as
with
at the end
whatever
of the
works.
day, it gets consistent.
We just want,
Yeah.
do you need a motion to give administration the right to change the day? We're
Change
not
the day?
changing the
No,
contract?
you got, if it's a change in the day of the contract, it's gonna come back here. We can do that and, kind of jury rig it for now. I don't,
word out.
what I need is no motion to do anything until we've
Just
moved
wait it
ahead.
out.
I think waiting it out.
Yes, we need to wait it out. I've heard loud and clear that during the week, people are having patience. If it gets into the weekend, right, when everybody's home all the time, we don't want to add another day, so there could be 3 days and then we're into the weekend. I don't think we don't want to do that.
We're moving into winter where there's not going to be as much motion in the streets, so hopefully.
What's the final day for yard refuse?
Yard, end of, right after Thanksgiving is the last day for yard.
So at that point, I mean, really a third of the trucks are done.
Hey, give it time to work it.
I think
Give it time to work itself out.
if we find ourselves in the same position in
Has everybody here on the council dealt with their community, their issue, what their garbage is picked up? I mean, everybody here lives in a different spot. So maybe the input from each one of you, I know where you live and where you live and I know where all of you live and you live in different places. So, and I think they're picking up different in different
One
places.
day late, consistently 1 day late.
And
Consistently.
I'm fortunate though, I live on a dead-end street, so it's not a high-traffic area. You don't have to worry about,
You're too.
it getting bumped over or anything.
Well, it's too bad too, and I guess it's kind of a funny story, but it's sad. I did get a phone call. The person was very, very upset. And doing what I do a lot of times, I said, okay, I'll stop over and talk to you and we'll discuss the problem. Well, part of the problem was they put their garbage out and a large majority wasn't even bagged. Well, if you put stuff out and it's in these skimpy grocery store bags or something, well, I made the mistake of pointing that out and I quickly got in my vehicle and left, but it's true. I mean, the citizens have got to help us out too.
Right.
I've got a friend who puts a large garbage bag in her can and then puts garbage bags in, and if the garbage company is late, then she ties the big bag that day so that it's protected. We know we got a problem going on, we're trying to solve it, but we need a little help from the citizens too. The way they put it out there to the road would help Dan's crew. I think Dan would agree in picking some of this stuff up. It's not the most pleasant thing when it hasn't been bagged properly. So we need to work on all sides. And in my heart of hearts, I didn't want to say let's sue, but I think we have to consider it as an option. We owe it to the community to let them know that we're gonna do something. We got to solve this issue.
Well, maybe this discussion, as light as it has been, maybe that sends the right signal. It's probably fair to guess that they're in a breach of some kind. I mean, if every community sued them, but then what do you get? No garbage collection. So, and that's
Is there anybody waiting? Is there one or two companies that want our
Rizzo.
business?
Just Rizzo.
Just a commercial company?
Yeah, no thank you.
We don't want to go to Rizzo. That's not what we're going to do. I'm a big believer in avoiding the appearance of impropriety.
Yeah.
And you all remember when that was going down? I had early information on that. We stayed away from that. He was here. I don't know if he did the full 5 years, but 5 years. They did the story on it. It's in the news media. But that doesn't mean that his brother's a bad guy. But they've never had a community pickup. They've had commercial pickup. So Sylvan Lake, if that holds, apparently awarded a contract, or it reads that way, the information out there, when they already got one. So I'm not sure how that sorts out. It was would have been a no bid contract. I suppose you could argue that they don't have to bid it. City council can do that. But I'm not sure that was all a good idea. It certainly doesn't look good. It kind of smells. So I would rather have a fight and.
Well, I understand what you're saying.
We
but
don't need,
you
that
know,
company.
Sylvan Lake is thinking that we just want to get our garbage picked up, and they're just trying to figure out a way to get their garbage picked up, so.
That's
who
it, but that's
knows
still not an excuse for
where or what
doing,
they're doing.
that's not an excuse for doing business with the
No.
shady group. You know, you fight the fight and you deal with the people who are complaining, but I think if I can get you guys to give us a little more time well, give priority more time, and we'll try to work with it and see if we can work it out. And if we can't, then we will come back, and the city attorney I think he's probably doesn't want to sue anybody, or maybe he does, maybe he likes to sue people.
Raccoons will go to sleep for the winter.
Well, I don't know. My experience with our city attorney is he likes to sue because he always wins, you know, so. But in this case, winning a breach of contract means we don't have a garbage pickup. I'm not sure that's a win, you know, so.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't sound like one to me.
Get your garbage picked up. We want our garbage picked up. That's
All
it,
right.
at the end of the day.
Okay, I've
Good comment.
accomplished my goal, and I'm tired now, so we'll go on to another item, if that's okay.
And
with
if you need
council.
us for an emergency meeting because you feel we need to take action,
We are one phone call away.
we're there.
No, I have that authority. The mayor has that authority. The 2 or 3 of you guys have that authority. We will do that. If garbage is sitting for days and days and it becomes a public safety issue, public health issue, then yes, we will have an emergency meeting. I expect that maybe if we can't work it out, we'll have somebody from Priority at the next meeting to talk to city council. I think that these other communities have leveraged Priority's leadership, but I thought the council might want to hear all these discussions and let the public hear it before Priority comes in and makes promises that they end up not keeping. But we will invite them at the next council meeting in October. How's that?
Deal.
Can you give us a?
No motion.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, the mayor has finally, hopefully is going to make everybody happy. We're going to fill the vacancy that we have on the DDA. I have been working on that with a firm commitment that I wanted to appoint a member to the DDA that was not part of what we call the old downtown. That seems to be where a majority of our members are from. And there's other areas in Wall Lake that are not in the old downtown. We haven't had a member outside of that since we lost Bob Schuman when he sold his business and left. So I did a lot of searching and got some help out of one of our employees and approached Mr. Joe Riley from Suburban Exchange. His father has owned it for years. He has been operating it. My concern, and I talked to Joe quite lengthy, that's been a one-man operation for a long time. Joe has assured me that he now has somebody that does work with him, quite capable of stepping in when he goes to meetings, and he's really excited about becoming part of the city and doing something for Wall Lake. So I am submitting that application to council tonight and would like to have your approval so that we can put Joe on the DDA.
That's your nomination.
Yes, I have
I've read through
I
it.
have a resolution here. Does everyone have that?
They do not, but we can place it up on the screen.
Yeah,
if you
they'll
like,
put it
or we
on
can
the-
Hand it out.
If you want to make the motion, John, she's gonna put it on the screen.
Okay.
There's the resolution.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, the mayor, yeah.
You'll make the
resolution
motion? I'll
1024.
support it.
Okay. A resolution accepting the mayor's nomination to appoint Joe Riley to the Downtown Development Authority Board pursuant to requirements of the city charter, making an appointment to the Downtown Development Authority, this being Resolution 2024-31.
31.
Support.
Tamara
Motion
supported
and
it.
support.
We're good.
Any discussion or comments? Roll call, please.
Fernandez.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Lublin.
Yes.
Osnick.
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Ambrose.
Yes.
Ackley.
Yes.
Thank you.
We do have a couple more vacancies, I don't have exact with me here tonight, but And we're gonna have a new vacancy after we finish, get a little further on in the meeting. So I promise you that we will try to get our boards up to full boards and running, and I appreciate the ones that are running without full membership. I think everyone is doing a great job and a lot is being accomplished in the community, and I definitely appreciate it. So thank you, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor, council, let's begin by, I would like a motion to move to receive and file the consent agenda consisting of the departmental and divisional statistic reports. Also have some additional stuff about those things too, but if you go ahead and get that motion out of the way and get it filed, so.
Woods will make the motion to approve the statistical reports.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second,
I'll
please?
second that.
Any discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Locke,
Yes.
Lublin,
Yes.
Osnick.
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Ambrose.
Yes.
Fernandez.
Yes.
Ackley.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 2, Mayor, quickly, let me touch on a couple of the items in the downtown development is moving ahead with the property across from the beach. It came before the planning commission. It got delayed, but it's not dead yet. So there's going to be opposition to it, but we're going to be dealing with that. So that's still on the agenda. You'll be dealing with that. You'll probably get feedback from the community as it gets closer. I think they'll be probably, will they be back at the next meeting in October? So that's still pending. You all have heard all the information of that, and so it's always a hot button issue for the community down there. A lot of support for it now, more than before. The difference is we're not closing a roadway. That one parcel has already been developed with the 3-story structure. So we're talking about just that one parcel across from the beach. So it's very likely that that could pass within the confines of what we're doing, but there's still going to be opposition. So as council members and mayor, you'll need to hear about that and see how that goes. The development on 14 Mile and Decker, commonly referred to as the Starbucks, the new Starbucks. From the city's point of view, we've done what we needed to do. I don't want to say it's a holdup, but the process has required them to meet with the road commission, and the road commission is arm wrestling about the necessary turn lane. And of course, the folks who own that say that if we don't get the left turn lane into that property from 14 Mile, then that's a deal breaker. I think too much has been invested for anything like that to be a deal breaker yet. But that's where we are on that, and that's probably the latest, right, Dan? So that's still on the agenda, but it's nothing we're doing to hold it up. It's the road commission, the folks over there. Once they get that entrance and exit worked out, they keep thinking they can adjust it. I think there's an engineer with the road commission who's all powerful, and he wants it his way. So we'll see how that works out. The 14 Mile and project is going to go. I just think that it's just a matter of time. So we'll have that drive-through Starbucks soon. I'm hoping, but it doesn't look like it's going to get started this year if they don't settle that arm wrestling match. Okay, so now we got one on Decker and Maple. I think we're referring to that as the 7-Eleven Speedway project. That got delayed. I was like apparently a swing vote because as my role as city manager, I sat on the planning commission. My vote counted. We had only four people there. And the argument was that, you need 4 to pass, but the applicant is entitled to a full. I voted, or I let them know I was going to vote no because I wasn't happy with the way it was going in terms of, I'm not opposed to the project. I heard a lot of remarks from the community there. Some of them were unreasonable. They just wanted to be woodland forever. They had not bothered to purchase it or put together something that is reasonable. Some of the remarks were unreasonable. In fact, a lot of them were. They're almost silly. There's a good chance they get to build something no matter what, but I think the community's working on it, and if they work with the they work with the developers of that process. We may see that move forward at the next meeting. So it got delayed until there's a full vote, which means that the person who was not available will be back, and I'll have a full group to vote on that and see if it moves forward. I think it does. My vote would change based on some basic changes. The arguments that they made about, saving the property for the coyotes and all that silly stuff, it's just, it argues, it goes against their argument. They come in and say silly things because they think it's cute. Some people weren't even in Walled Lake, but they're over to visit and say a few cute things, and that's kind of always what happens. That's going to get developed sooner or later, whether it becomes you can't just vote against a thing because they don't want a gas station. Well, if it's zoned for a gas station, you can have a gas station. You got to have reasons, and it would be some legitimate reason, not because we don't want anything there. So we'll see how that goes, but that's on the agenda, and that's still festering, if you will. There's people over there that are just adamant that the city's got to keep it, woodland and for the animals and, the foxes and the coyotes. They even said that. So that's where we are on it. The school property, I'm not sure who's in charge down there. I think it's on autopilot. The leadership in that side is all gone. They got new leadership, but nobody says much about anything. So that development is slow and moving. That's not the highest on their agenda. Huh?
There is nothing planned.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't want to get that brutal, but yes, they have no plan. The guy who was in charge of all that, pretty bright guy, that was not high on his agenda, but he's gone. So now they got to get somebody else, guy, gal, whoever. Their focus is opening up Western High School. If you haven't been invited, go over there, see if your name is still up on the wall, Mayor. They changed everything. I think it's now. I don't know. When does anybody know? Tuesday?
5 p.m.
They're opening up Western. We should all go and see if the mayor's brass plaque is still up on the wall when she was like the high grade point average. She was on the wall there for years. Yeah. So, but there's nobody in charge of that. It's hard to say when that ever gets developed. It's this way it is. Taco Bell. We got a council member that looks out his back door of his business and sees Taco Bell. They're coming out of the ground. They're coming fast. It's looking pretty good. You can drive down Pontiac now without any yellow cones in the street. They've moved them to the side. So they've got all of that done. It looks like the flow of traffic is much better now that they got the water tap in and all of that. It's bricked up and they're working on the inside. I don't know when they're going to open that up, but it's getting close. They've leveled it out, cleaned up the site, got a little concrete to pour, maybe some pavement coming in, but it's close. Downtown, the downtown corner on Liberty and East Lake is moving along very, very slowly. You see some activity there in terms of looking better. It looks better. Not sure what they got going on the inside. Looks like that he's poured concrete in the alleyway, which we would call an alleyway, but not claiming that he owns the alleyway. There was a dispute that arose between that owner of the property and the neighboring property because the downspout came into that area and fed into what was previously just, ground dirt. And now it's paved so the water doesn't drain the right way. Allegedly, someone changed the downspout and it flooded that other building, which belongs to a different owner, but it's being leased. So that dispute is festering because we got the owner there claiming he owns it and nobody has access but him. So that could, we're not in the middle of that yet, but we could end up being in the middle of that. Part of our surveying process that somebody mentioned earlier, we're probably going to find out what the law is on whether we have a legitimate easement there, whether he could do that. But he's already paved that area, and it looks better, but I'm not sure it is better in terms of drainage if it's draining stuff back into the other building. Now you got tenant disputes and all kinds of stuff. So that's still festering down there. It's still not good. There's a couple of businesses that are leaving because the new owners of some of those buildings down there raised the price. So I think the insurance company's out because they raised the prices down there. No parking. Who's going to rent that? So downtown is still very much up in the air of how that goes. And that's about it for downtown development today. That's about it. The next thing I'd like to talk to you about is the police. Where is it? You got a report for us on the flock? I'm going to embarrass you, but
So
everybody knows we got one arrest. Everybody knows we got one arrest. That was great. But we have another one. You didn't know about that one. Two. We have a second one. So I'm sorry, Paul, but I got to do this.
for itself.
So our police chief, who you've heard that thing about, you're a small community, you have a working police chief. Well, we do, because our police chief was sitting at his desk when the buzzer goes off, whatever they do, bzzz, we got a stolen car driving through here. And then nobody was around, so he gets up and whatever he does,
But
gets in his car.
out the door.
He goes in his car and he stops the car and he arrests two people for stolen car. The police chief, not our patrol officers, not our lieutenants. The police chief makes an arrest. And the subjects was a man and a woman, was it not? And the woman was 6'1", weighed 180 pounds, bigger than him. And he made the arrest. You were assisted by somebody.
Yeah, our deputy chief helped out.
Go get him, Heather, right?
Yeah.
So if I were given Officer of the Month, we don't do that, but I'm going to give it to the police chief because he got up out of his nice seat behind the desk and all that, and he made a legitimate felony arrest for a stolen vehicle. Having said that, we're getting way too many vehicles stolen. We got, they're back over at LaFontaine. They stole a couple of other ones. We got, the subject comes in, we got male and a female. The females are participating. This is 24. They get to steal cars now. So we got them on camera stealing the Durango, was it? Two Durangos, she got one, he got one, broke in. So they're, it's a equal opportunity now. So we're working that, but this is a different group than the ones they already banged up for getting. But the Durangos are a target. They absolutely are a target. For whatever reason, they've become a target, maybe because they're a really neat
easy
car.
to steal.
They're easy. I'm not sure that the Durangos, the vehicles that we drive, the one I drive for the city's car that I drive, that's a target vehicle. They see it and they try to steal it, and because that's a public safety car I drive. I was driving, this was a couple of months back, I was driving up Haggerty, and I hear the whoop. I look in my mirror and I'm being stopped by Farmington Hills police. He walks up and I'm looking in the mirror and I can see that young man, and that young man was a Latino. I happen to be able to identify those generally Latino. I'm married to a Peruvian woman, as you know. And he says, do you know why I stopped you? And I said, yeah, because I'm driving the Durango. He said, well, I ran your tag and it doesn't come back to anybody. I said, because it's a public safety vehicle. He went, and then he looked and he went, oh, sir. Then he called me sir. I said, well, I have a question too, officer. He said, what's that? I said, how does a young man like you get to work in Farmington Hills? Latino, Mexican. And I spoke to him in Spanish, and he says, you speak Spanish? A little bit, And so he says, I started with Detroit, but they offered me so much money to come over here, I had to go. And I said, well, I think that was a good decision. And I was talking to him in Spanish. And then I said to him, I said, wait a minute, officer. He said, well, have a good day. Thank you, sir. He's a very pleasant young man. I said, do you see the irony in this traffic stop? And he said, what? I said, Mexican boy policeman stops old white guy in a stolen Durango. He started laughing. I said, we're profiling here, we're profiling here. But I got stopped because I was driving a Durango and it didn't have a tag that matched his. How many did they get? 2?
Yes, I have 2 so far.
So you mentioned that they're easy to steal. What makes them easy?
You can
Is
start.
it the
starter.
laptop to the
The
key
remote.
fob?
So Chrysler, Fiat, Stellantis, whatever they're doing as far as their security features and their key fobs in their vehicles is not nearly as robust as the other manufacturers. There's an issue with Kias, older Kias, same thing. Extremely easy to steal. You can go online, different, and
You mentioned the Faraday bag.
Mhm.
Aren't the dealerships keeping all their keys in Faraday bags?
So, so that doesn't prohibit them from taking a very large landscaping rock and throwing it through the window and running in and breaking into the key box. That's what this particular incident was. So,
We have those pictures. Did you have that? Do you have that line? No?
don't think no.
No, we got crime scene pictures where that's exactly what they did. They break things up and, there was some keys laying on the ground and,
Gone, in 60 seconds.
oh, no, it was done in a matter of seconds. It's gone. It's that simple. They know how. Because of the high-tech nature of society nowadays, it's easy to plan that. You can Google and know the site. You can know what's inside. I mean, one of the stories recently was the burglary of houses because the stuff that's on Zillow and everything else, you can like identify a place and find out what it looks like inside. And when if there's a death or whatever, I mean, it's that simple. And they're actually doing that. They're doing a high-tech review, surveillance and all that. And they know the layout. They know everything ahead of time. Sometimes it's just an inside job,
Well, the detective today was utilizing Flock, and we know with the general time frame that you can't get into Walled Lake anymore without going past the Flock camera. So we hope to leverage that information, that technology once again to hope maybe identify these people. So an investment keeps paying off.
That's who we are. What else you got for us? You got a couple other things? Or?
I think that's it, sir.
Oh, good. Then we don't need to talk anymore. Anybody else got any questions? I'm good for the night.
Ryan had
The water.
Backflow
Backflow.
testing.
Backflow discussion?
Well, he's the Mayor Pro Tem wants to talk about, what is it you want to talk about?
Water backflow testing. So it's required of all the houses, right? That have
That's correct.
a backflow system on there. Now, there seems to be some discussion whether it's a yearly required test or it's at a longer required distance. But some of the prices that are out there, some neighbors are grouping together in Walled Lake and they're getting costs down as much as $100. I've heard people that have got on their own that have costs of $150 to $200 for a test that probably takes about 15 minutes or less. So
That's true.
not looking to see if Walled Lake can support it, but is there anything that the city can do to maybe get a preferred contractor per se, or to work or put out a bid to say, hey, here's a preferred company, group of people, here's their prices, maybe we can provide that to the residents?
Well,
So there's
if you-
two questions, right? What's the
Well, let me,
requirement? And
let me
then-
deal with the first issue is WRC they do our water. We contract with them. And so they're not amateurs. They get that. They provide a list of all of the people all the companies who do that kind of thing. And so they do not provide, they stay out of the business of making a preferred customer, preferred list, preferred company, whatever you want to call it. The answer for me was I don't want to be in the business of identifying a company that does that. I think that we could use the same list. And as a city, we give them the same list that WRC does. So they have to contact their people. We're talking about saving a couple hundred bucks, or are we talking about saving $50? How much are we going to save on a preferred list? It's still going to cost. They don't do it for free. WRC doesn't, they stay out of the business. They will say, these are the people who provide that service. And I'm not sure that I want to be as manager saying pick this company. And I think you run into a problem with that. I do. You pick this company because you're friends with them or whatever. I don't know how we pick a company over one other company when there's dozens of them Dan, do you know how many companies are on the list?
There's right around 30.
Okay.
They're all certified, and they have to be certified through the state to do the testing. And
It-
it maybe takes about 15 minutes to do the testing, but it's the paperwork after the fact that they have to fill out all the stuff, and then they send the paperwork into WRC and make sure everything's taken care of.
I think that's a thing that the homeowners associations could do without running afoul of, that appearance of impropriety. If the homeowners association say, let's identify the best companies for our community and identify 2 or 3 of them and try to get the price down. I'm not sure the city ought to be in that business, and I don't know how we would do that. I don't know how we would pick one over the other. Would we be having meetings to have people come in and do bids? I suppose we could do that. We could say, okay, let's, send a letter to everybody and say, what's the bid, and reduce the price. Are they going to reduce it by $20? How much are they going to reduce it by? How much do we believe we can get it down? So I'm not looking to jump in the
I don't
middle of.
believe we want to be in that business.
No.
I think the homeowners association could contact.
Well, my understanding is that the WRC does the inspections, that they will do an inspection. That they come through periodically and do an inspection. Is that correct or incorrect?
Annual inspections on all the residents, on all residential and commercial. And the testable devices that have to be tested annually are only the ones with boiler heat systems, baseboard radiant heat systems. Those have to be tested annually.
Dan, come up closer. They can hear you.
The irrigation systems for your lawn, those have to be tested every 5 years. So, $150, you're talking $30 a year to,
So
pay for
basically,
it.
you
So
were
it's-
talking irrigation.
Yes, just for irrigation.
But for a normal person, a normal household that has, say, an outside spigot, if they put a backflow preventer on it,
Correct,
and they don't use that real.
correct.
just because
They
it-
don't test those. A testable device is something that has moving parts inside of it,
Right,
and that's your irrigation, and there's one on a boiler heat system in a home.
okay.
Those are the only two. Then as far as the spigots go, when they do their annual inspection, they walk around the house, they check your spigots where you hook your garden hose to make sure you have a backflow anti-siphon device screwed on there.
Right.
And then you screw your hose to that. And that's just because if you have your hose laying in a puddle that all your fertilizer is laying in, and they have a water main break, or they have to shut a system down like they did on Rosebud today, and they drain the system, if you have a hose laying in there, or a garden hose in your laundry tub, and there's water in there with all the soap and everything, it can siphon the water out of the tub or off the lawn and put it into the system.
Right.
And then
So
you
in-
could
so in
contaminate the
So in
system.
the case of a laundry tub, you put a backflow
Right,
preventer
well,
on
it
it.
screws right on, they
and
cost
it screws right on,
$5.
And it's a piece of cake.
Right.
No problem.
And that's a one-time deal, you're done, once you put one on.
The question is, can we lower the price for the consumer? I think that's. the
Well, I
question
think
that-
he clarified a question here
Did he?
because a lot of the residents that I was getting feedback from said, hey, it was a yearly requirement.
No.
So you said baseboard heating, that question and response did come up. But for irrigation, if it's every 5 years,
Every
that's
5.
a lot, that's a different picture than yearly.
Well, if
And
that fixes the
best-
issue, then we're
yeah.
good. But I just don't know that we ought to be I think the homeowners association can always try to find better deals. I mean, that's the way it works. But the city picking, those kind of things, that's a tough.
No,
thing
I agree. If it's every
Yeah.
5 years, it's a low cost, right, to protect the water supply. But if it's every year, that's a different story.
All right.
So I agree.
Dan-
Yep.
Dan, you mentioned Rosebud. I got some correspondence from some different residents this morning about the situation that was going on Rosebud. Is there anything to report on?
4 hours it was turned off, but they had a break, and it was out about 4 hours, right?
Correct.
4 hours. They turned off the water for 4 hours. That's what happens when there's a break, and it's up and running within a few hours. I don't know if it even made 4, but
No, I don't think it was 4, but
Yeah,
they
so-
flushed it out.
that's what was going on. It was
There's
a
a
break.
back T test that has to be done. They test it after 24 hours. And right now there's a boil water alert for 24 hours.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Isn't that Facebook amazing? You find about everything, right? Yes.
Everything.
I know it is.
Everything.
Yeah. Mayor, let me, in my report, I'm going to mention again, I hope you guys all do. Ms. Pesta has put together the reception and/or thank you dinner for the volunteers of our city. So with the appreciation dinner, banquet, whatever we're calling it, She's kicked it up a real big notch here. It's going to be over at the Bay Point Yacht Club, Bay Point Golf Course. We've been over there, and it's going to be Friday, and everybody should try to come and make it. She's got strolling violinists. I don't think you have mariachis or anything, but the violinists, a little dance floor. We're expecting to see somebody do the waltz. Oh, Snick.
Is your violinist new?
If you recall, it was his resolution. It was his resolution to introduce to get it done. So for the first time since I've been here, we're going to have an appreciation dinner for all of your volunteers. You should all be prepared to speak to them, your leadership on the boards, which would be the chairman and the board members who give, all of you have done that in some version of your own. You know, you've volunteered to the past. Some of John is probably, and Linda's they've volunteered for years. Now they serve on the council and they get paid the big bucks. But these folks, that's a joke. I expected somebody to laugh. They do it for absolutely free. They don't get that $35 a month that you guys get. They do it for free. And you got to appreciate their work and their effort, and they do. So we think it's going to be a nice little event, better than anything that has happened since I've been here. That's because Pest is doing it. I want to sneak this in, but the place is great. The venue's great. I've been over there. And then I found out after we went that that's where she got married. You know. Okay. You know, it's a beautiful place. So let's all try to get there Friday. I'm good, Mayor. We're good.
Okay. Attorney's report. Well, wait, correspondence, there isn't any?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Attorney's report.
I've provided you with my written closing report on a pending litigation matter. Another successful outcome for the city because the matter has been dismissed. There's no action for council to take on the case, so there's no need for an executive session on that. So
Okay.
so all's good there.
Well done.
Yep, worked out well. Shoreline condos, had them in court today. As you recall, council had authorized using the city's condemnation powers if needed. They have the wall, the retaining wall that's leaning into the backyards of the neighboring properties, and they had requested the city to assist them with gaining access to those neighboring properties. I did go ahead and prepare a contract for them to sign that would require them to reimburse the city if we were to do that. They got back with their contractor, and I guess they've figured out ways to fix the wall without having to go that route. So it looks like there won't be any need for the city to get involved in any kind of a condemnation action there. They are moving forward. They've pulled permits. They've already started some of the demolition. They've removed the garages, and the permit has been issued, and they're going to start the demolition on the wall itself. And then we anticipate getting a building permit in to rebuild the wall.
Thank you.
Great. Awesome.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. There's no unfinished business, new business. We have proposed resolution 2024-31 authorizing interlocal agreement with Oakland County Community Health Network.
32 now, Madam Mayor, and we do
Yeah, you're
have
right, 32.
a presenter here in regards to that.
Yeah, can we put up the stats?
Thank you, Hannah.
All right, good evening, council. This is something we're working on for a little bit. I'd like to introduce Siri Sakura. Hopefully I'm getting that correct. She's Director of Justice Initiatives. She's with Oakland Community Health Network, and she's been instrumental in this program. And what we're proposing.
I'm just looking to see if there's.
Siri, you want to come up with me? So what we're proposing is a interlocal agreement between Wixom, Walled Lake, White Lake, and Wolverine Lake. And I guess the simple term is that there are some grants that are out there and available, and White Lake started the process. Back in February, the four chiefs got together and we started talking about, collaboration with the communities to get, I guess in the simplest term, a social worker. someone to help with the mental health crisis that we've been experiencing in our community. So we started pulling some numbers together, and unfortunately, we found that our numbers for mental health related calls are on par with White Lake and Wixom, which has a substantially larger population than we do. We've known that this has been an issue for the last several years, and when we found out that the grant was available, and not only, I guess there are actually two different grants. There's an ARPA grant that would cover the first year entire cost of the employee. The employee would be a employee of Oakland Community Health Network, and then I guess in the simplest term, would be loaned out to the police departments. Looking at times for calls for service and that, the employee would be a 4-day a week, work 4 10-hour shifts, and work in each one of the communities, but obviously address needs in different communities as they come up. So, you want to add? This is the interlocal agreement has been through the other 3 communities. We are the last community of the 4 to hopefully approve it tonight. We have worked Van hard, and we were able to work through some legal issues. So at that point, I believe we've covered everything. Spoke with the manager, and he's on board. So, Siri, you want to add anything?
I think you did a good summary. You answer questions.
So we're hoping that some of these calls that we're receiving that are repeat calls that are people in mental health crisis, our officers are going out there and they're responding. They're taking care of that initial thing. They're getting these people petitioned. They're getting them up to Common Ground. They're getting them up to the hospitals, wherever they need to go. But that's unfortunately where we end. And we're relying on family members and other organizations to make sure that these people are taking their medications, seeking the help, and staying on the path to help being healthy mentally. And we believe that this co-responder would help us with these, I don't want to say problem people, because it's something that they're working through that they can't help, but it would take a lot of these calls out of the police officers' hands, and we wouldn't be continually responding, because that's what we're seeing is there's a gentleman that lives across from Councilman Lublin who I want to say we've responded to 100 times this year probably, and it's just outside the purview of the police department, but unfortunately that's where it gets dumped. And that the social worker or co-responder is the actual term, it probably makes her itchy when I say that, would help us make sure that these people are getting the treatment that they need. So we're, for the police department, we're asking for your support in approving this interlocal agreement that would be covered with grants and should be no cost to the city.
Chief, can you walk us through a scenario when this would occur? My reason for my question is when you called a 911 emergency, they say police, fire, or medical. Would there be an additional one for this type of service, or how would you decide that you are sending this individual rather than one of your staff members?
So let me clarify that this co-responder would not be responding by themselves to any of the calls.
Okay.
They would be responding with our police officers and our firefighters if necessary. They would never be in the field, I guess that's probably fair, by themselves. They're not armed, they're not trained sometimes, most of the times in mental health crisis, people are in a very bad spot. And these co-responders, we would never put them in put their safety in jeopardy. They would be out there with a police officer.
Okay, I answered my question.
It sounds like they might even be more often a follow-up with a police officer. I mean, what's the chances that they're going to be in the community on that particular day when the first call comes in?
Sure, absolutely. So once we get moving and the officers would fill out a simple report to be attached to it when there is a mental health, and it'd be labeled as a co-responder call. And then it's a co-responder, whoever we pick, that they would be getting these follow-up reports, and then they'd either reach out to the officer or move forward in the process of getting these people the follow-up care.
Chief, you want me to pitch on that?
Yeah, could you please?
Yeah. So Siri Secor, I'm the Director of Justice Initiatives with Oakland Community Health Network. Before we started this initiative with the 4 communities, we had requested a lot of their data to see where their peak days and times were as it was relating to mental health calls and substance use calls. So we had an idea on how to staff our co-responders with your community. Of course, we don't provide 24/7 coverage 7 days, so we're focusing on those peak times. The goal is during those peak times to be on scene when your residents truly need the help, but in the event that our co-responder is tied up with a situation or after hours, then the officers can submit a referral form to us, and we will follow up with that individual. Usually they would remain in the community. They're safe enough to stay in the community, and we will follow up. If they were transported to the hospital, we will still make sure that we can connect with our hospital team internally for some follow-up services.
You said that grants are going to cover the first 2 years. How will we fund it after that?
So my understanding is, one of the last things, the ARPA grant through Oakland County covers the first year. And then after that, there is a grant through MCOLS in the state. I believe that it's covering the last 3 years.
Yes, the contract would be, my apologies.
Give her, put the mic a little closer for her. Thank you.
Yes, correct. We had received a grant through the Board of Commissioners for the very first year. White Lake had applied for a 3-year grant that would cover year 2, 3, and 4. At this moment, we're only seeking the interlocal for the first 2 years because we have to see how the funds can roll over between year 3 and 4. But the funding is set out for 4 years.
And our contract is a 4-year contract? Or is it?
I believe the
renewable
most
after each year?
recent, the finalized version that we got, I believe, is for 2 years.
It is 2 years.
Oh,
It's 2 years.
well, I certainly support mental health needs, so.
I agree.
Obviously, with the contract that, it's like any other contract, obviously, if something, the council has the power, just as always. I believe there's a 90-day provision in there that the council could pull us out of the contract.
Yes, you can, either, any party can exit the contract at any time upon providing 90 days advance written notice.
We obviously hope it's gonna go well, and it is working in other communities. There's a co-responder in Bloomfield Township, Auburn Hills,
Total of 11 communities.
11 different communities. So we're not pioneering this by any means, and I've talked to the chiefs in some of the other communities, and it has been an amazing support program and has really taken a lot of this off the plates of the police officers and into the hands of the mental health professionals. They know, because they deal from the medical side, not from the law side, they know the things that the health community is looking for to get these people help. And that's why it's been such a success. In fact, some of the communities are adding additional co-responders on top of their initial ones, so.
My understanding is that we have one co-responder for all 4 communities?
Yes.
Okay, and it's going to be rotated?
Yeah, obviously, if there was, well, the initial would be, if there's a need on Walled Lakes Day to be in Wixom, wherever that, we would all work together, all the chiefs and all the communities. We all work very closely together.
Yeah, you closely coordinate anyway.
Yep.
So it's just, so even though the co-responder is, say, White Lake, if the call comes in for Walled Lake, it jumps right over.
Absolutely.
Not a problem. Okay.
Any further questions? We ready for a motion?
I'll make the resolution authorizing the adoption of multi-jurisdictional interlocal agreement with the City of Wixom, Township of White Lake, Village of Wolverine Lake, and Oakland Community Health Network for a co-responder to work with the Walled Lake Police Department, that being Resolution 2024-32.
Woods will second.
And any further discussion or questions?
Madam Mayor, would point out that the contract is for the contract period. We will make assessments of whether or not that's working for Wall Lake in the future. There's no guarantee that we're going to be able to fund that for the future. We're not trying to increase the size of our department or anything like that. So if this works, then we'll have that discussion, but there will be a discussion at the end of this contract to see if it's the kind of thing that the city council is willing to fund in the future. So there will be no automatic renewal or bring it back, but you're going to get to talk about this again to see if this is really the kind of thing that Walled Lake can sponsor in the future. So that's all we got.
My only question, and then I didn't catch it, part of it was the mic and my deaf ears. Why was it mentioned that some are 4 years and some are 2 years?
No, the funding that White Lake has obtained through the grant, it is a 4-year grant. It was suggested at this time to do the contract for a 2-year period because of how the funding falls in year 3 and 4. So we can't accept funds for something that has not happened yet. So we wanted to, OCHN has to be paid by fiscal year. So at this moment, we're focusing on the first 2 years and then figuring out how we can potentially use the funds in year 3 and 4 in compliance with how OCHN handles their billing.
Thank you.
The issue for us will be, as a council and administration, is it a program that's going to work? Is it going to be a legitimate program for our community? It's not about, is there funds available, we need to do this. I'm not a big believer in accepting funds for a program that's not going to be useful or whatever. I mean, this is the reason that you got it is because it looks like it can serve a purpose for our city. We do have issues like that, but we're going to see how that works in the next couple of years. I don't know that that's exactly the kind of discussion we'll have in two years. So the record needs to show this is, I'm not convinced that all of these programs are going to work just because there's funding for it. They have to show some benefit to the community before we start funding it. That's the way it is when you're in a small city. You have to look at it that way, so.
And it's a 2-year test.
Yeah.
With a 90-day out on either part.
Correct.
There you go.
The 90-day out is the key, but we think it's going to work. That's why,
We want it to.
well, we do, but there's got to be some legitimacy to it. We have to be able to identify what it is we're trying to do and show that it worked. You get to ask that question again, and you ought to, in 2 years. So.
Okay.
We have a motion, we have a second.
We certainly do. Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Lublin?
Yes.
Osnick?
Yes.
Woods?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Ackley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, council.
Of course, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I actually brought you an infographic. Would you like to see it?
Yeah,
Pass it out?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Worked it.
Thank you. Take one.
Thank you.
Okay, it looks like the last item under new business is the resignation of one of our library board members, Mordecai.
We have number 2.
No,
But I skipped number two.
There's another resolution.
Oh, we don't need a lawnmower. Let's go to 3.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, this is the
Probably
one,
do need a lawnmower.
this is the one for the zero turn, this is the one for the zero turn.
Yeah.
Osnick will make the motion, a resolution authorizing the purchase of a new zero-turn mower for the Department of Public Works. This being up Resolution 2024-33.
Is there support?
Support.
Anybody have any questions? Roll call. Oh, did somebody say something?
No, I was
Oh,
being
okay.
smart, Alec.
If John says it's okay, it's okay.
A Zero, I hire a guy with a zero turn, and it worked wonderfully.
Yeah?
So, yeah. so-
You got a big enough area to mow with a zero turn? With all them flowers?
No, the ditch is in the front.
Oh, okay.
Oh, God, does a wonderful job. Thank you,
Osnick?
Dad.
Roll call, please.
Osnick?
Yes.
Woods?
Yes.
Ambrose?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Lublin?
Yes.
Ackley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can we make,
Now can we go to number 3?
I'd like to see a picture of it, please. Thank you.
It probably looks like
Can we
the
get
old
rights
one,
on it?
but it's the new one,
Oh.
without any defects.
If I find you on the streets, I'm gonna ride it.
Bennett, would you like to
I don't
address
think
this
you're
last
covered
item?
under the insurance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. the
Absolutely.
last one
So,
with-
Mort has been a valuable part of our library board. He's always in attendance, and he has, it's not anything, he has some difficulties that he's working through, and that's why he's leaving. And, he still may be around, but just not as a library board director. So,
Right.
we're gonna miss him, but
We should make sure he comes to the dinner, no
I
matter.
hope so.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I hope
If
so.
he can do that, even though he's,
He
you
is
accepted
coming. He
tonight, but he
RSVP'd.
should still come for,
Oh, good, he's gonna be there.
He's gonna be there.
Right.
if he wants,
And I'll certainly make the motion to accept his resignation and of course, we'll send him
Yeah.
a thank you.
And Ostek will second that with
You'll
regrets.
second? Okay.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? And you are gonna help the mayor find a replacement, correct?
We are, I think we have talked about it, we have talked about it at our library board meeting, and we have someone that we think,
Okay,
will fit in nicely and be a good part of the team.
just keep me posted. Okay, roll call, please.
Woods.
Yes.
Ambrose.
Yes.
Fernandez.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Lublin.
Yes.
Osnick.
Yes.
Ackley.
Yes.
Thank you.
Council comments. Mindy?
Well, I really want to thank again the staff support for the farmers market. I think it's just such a great thing in our community. Really gets to highlight who we are. And just, it was a great summer in Walled Lake. We still got a little bit more to go, so get out there and get on the lake and enjoy all that Walled Lake has to provide.
Thank you. Bennett?
The only thing I can think of is, I'm looking forward to seeing, Ladd Road, resurfaced. It's certainly, it's, up to the Oakland County, or it's up to the asphalt company. And, just the city looks great. Everyone's doing a wonderful job. It's a wonderful team. I say that I think I say that every month because it's true. So, appreciate you all.
Casey?
Echo what my fellow council members say regarding our staff. Our staff is one of the best, if not the best, in our county, in our state, with everything that comes to you. The things you have to deal with from external to internal, from residents to businesses. You're nonstop advocates for the city of Walled Lake, and I cannot thank you enough. This board cannot thank you enough for everything you ladies do, you gentlemen do, our members on our boards that are volunteers that don't get paid the big bucks. We can't thank them enough. I look forward to seeing them on this Friday. Big things continue to happen in the city of Walled Lake. We're getting great attention from outside individuals for the good. So let's continue to do it and see where the world takes us. Thank you.
Thank you. Pamela?
I just want to echo my fellow council members. I think that the dinner this Friday is going to be an excellent event for all of our volunteers. So thank you, Ms. Pesta.
Thank you.
Looking forward to this Friday. But beyond that, I'm looking forward to the Mayor Ackley's trunk and treat. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be.
When is that
that-
again?
When is it?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's at the end of October.
October 27th.
There you go, from 11 to 1.
Sunday.
11
Sunday.
See, I wait for the mayor to make that
That's the
announcement.
26th, the day of Michigan State.
No, it's the day
That would be
after
bad.
we get to celebrate beating them.
That's right. Go green.
But on another note, bring your dancing slippers for Friday.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I too am looking forward to the upcoming events. I wanted to thank Dan Ladd and the DPW crew. Nice job on Marshall Taylor Park. It's looking great and the residents have noticed. I did have a chance to go along with Chief Shakinis and look at some of the ordinance issues that they've been dealing with. So there's been some good effort. Your team, our city attorney, right? Some of the repeat offenders, we've talked about repeat offenders, quite a bit here, right? It takes the resources away from reviewing the whole, city and keeping your foot on the ground. DTE Energy, we have to keep talking about them. The power keeps going out. We have some antiquated equipment in Walled Lake. We're kind of one of the old cities. Appears townships like Van Buren Township. Plymouth Township are getting some attention. You know, we're due to have a look here to see what kind of equipment that we have, the age, what's the useful life, so we need to keep that on the radar.
Thank you. Well, since John has stole my thunder, well, Mayor's trunk or treat, I am also looking forward to seeing the waltz Friday night, so we'll see how it goes. I think this event will be great, and it's been a long time coming back. As I discussed with the city manager today, I remember the first one, so I'll date myself. It was 1971, and it was a big success and lasted a few years and came back and then died again. So I'm glad to see it coming back. I think the volunteers are deserving of a little bit of appreciation, and it'll be a great evening. It'll be a fun evening. So I hope to see everyone there and enjoying themselves. And at that, I really wasn't trying to get the city into a lawsuit. I just want us to do something. Let the citizens know we're really working to take care of their problem. So, anyways, with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
See you Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.